Ted Bundy was born on November 24, 1946 and was executed on January 24, 1989. He was one of the most prolific serial killers in American history, having eventually confessed to killing 30 young women, although some experts believe that he may have killed many more, maybe up to 100, during the 1970s. The way he would get most of his victims was diabolical. He would pretend to be physically hurt or impaired in some way, and would get them into his faded beige 1968 Volkswagen Beetle. Also, sometimes he would pretend to be some authority figure to lure them in. Right away he would put handcuffs on them and then bludgeon them into unconsciousness, while being parked in a secluded area away from people. He would then sexually assault them and mutilate their bodies. This wasn't all though. He often revisited the decomposed bodies, grooming and caressing them while having more sex acts with them. He's been called by expert biographer Anne Rule as a sadistic sociopath who enjoyed the pain and suffering of the young women he victimized, and enjoying the control he had over them, including the ultimate control, death. Even Bundy himself once said that he was the most cold-blooded son of a bitch you would ever meet. Ted Bundy was the very definition of cold-blooded evil, perhaps the closest thing to Satan incarnate that you will find on this earth. Ted Bundy's real biological father was never firmly established. Some have believed that Bundy was sired by his mother's, Louise, father. This theory seems to have been shot down by a DNA test which turned out negative. In his early years, Ted Bundy lived with his maternal grandparents, and he was told as a child his sister was his real mother. He later found a birth certificate in Vermont showing his true parentage, which he did not find out about until 1969. For his entire life held a strong resentment towards his mother for not telling him about his real father, and leaving him to find out for himself. Even at a very early age, Bundy exhibited some very disturbing behavior. One such episode occurred when his mother Louise's sister, Julia Cowell, woke up from a nap and found herself surrounded by knives on the bed, with young 3-year-old Bundy standing there smiling. It was said by Bundy and his other family members that Samuel Cowell, his grandfather who had adopted him in his early years, was a sadistic bully who regularly beat his wife and dog and swung cats by their tails through the air. He even threw Julia, the grandmother, down a flight of stairs for oversleeping. In 1965, Ted Bundy attended the University of Puget Sound for 1 year, and then transferred to the University of Washington. In 1967, while at the University of Washington, he met a classmate, Diane Edwards, also known by Bundy by the pseudonym Stephanie Brooks. Later in his life he described her as the only woman he had ever really loved. Later, in the early 1970s, Bundy had aspirations to become a lawyer, and even have a political career. He went on a vicious killing spree in the western states, killing many young women. In August of 1974, he received an acceptance from the Utah Law School and moved to Salt Lake City. All this time he dated at least a dozen women. Soon, though, he resumed his killing rampage, going from Utah to Colorado. Finally, on August 16, 1975, Bundy was arrested by Utah Highway Patrol officer Bob Hayward in a residential area of Granger, Utah after noticing that Bundy's Volkswagen Beetle had an out-of-state license and was fleeing at a high speed. After stopping the car, Hayward noticed that the front seat had been removed and placed in the back of the car. Hayward found a ski mask and a pantyhose mask, crowbars, rope, trash bags, and other items he thought were burglary tools. Bundy was placed under surveillance for a period of time, until it was later determined that he was a suspect in a number of murders and strange disappearances of young women. He was eventually jailed in Aspen, Colorado, but he was able to escape. He traveled to Florida where he resumed his killing spree, until he was stopped by Officer David Lee near the Alabama state line on a warrants arrest for a stolen car. Eventually, Ted Bundy was put in the Florida State Prison, where he remained until his execution on January 24, 1989. But this is where Ted Bundy's secret comes in, and something very strange happened. When the eventual death by electrocution was carried out, Bundy sat down in the terrible chair, with his head shaved, and the electrocution cover was placed over his head. A switch was thrown on and the sentence was carried out. Now, this is something that is not well known, and most of the public may not have heard of it. But when several people, who had been responsible for the execution, walked up to the deceased Bundy, they noticed a very strange smile on his face. He actually seemed happy, even full of joy. So, the real mystery is what caused this expression of happiness on Ted Bundy's face. What could he have possibly seen or experienced as he was about to enter the great beyond? This will always remain a mystery, and will forever be Ted Bundy's secret.